Hi folks, it's time for another book haul. In fact, it's time for 2 book hauls. I've got enough books here for 2, so I'm going to split it into 2 videos, but I'm going to record them one after the other. I'm going to try to intersperse, when I eventually publish this, I'm going to try to intersperse it with some footage that I've taken whilst book hunting in the wild. So these next 3 were from charity shops, which are not normally places where I find much in the way of science fiction. I find the odd 1 or 2 books occasionally, but normally they're a bit of a desert. So I paid £1 for this, a whole £1. It's not anything special. It's a reprint or a reissue. I would love to find a hardback of this, and I'll keep an eye out for it. They're quite expensive to buy, but sometimes you know, stranger things have happened. They'll turn up in a charity shop at some point, and I'll get it for a couple of quid. But I've seen the movie. I have not read the book. The book is apparently better than the movie, so which I quite enjoyed. So I have high hopes I'll get around to this at some point. It's pretty chunky. Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. And then I picked up this again for £1, The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman, which is the first of the sequel trilogy to his Dark Materials. And I got this for £1 because I already have it in a massive trade paperback, but I've got the second book in this size, so it's really silly. Actually, I just wanted them to match, so I'll ditch this. I'll give this away or to charity or something, and this one I shall keep. And I also picked up, again for £1, I think, or maybe even 50p. It might have been 2 for £1 when I bought those. Anyway, is one of the Witcher series. It's not in the same issue as the other couple that I've got, 2 or 3 that I've got. Eventually I'll get the full set. So I think this is another book of like short stories, and it kind of slots in after, I think it slots in after The Last Wish. So a bit of Witcher action. Okay, so then we get into some of the science fiction. This isn't a huge haul.
Yeah, I think I'll get that Greg Bear.
It's Greg Bear's Hull 03. Don't know much about it. It's a starship hurtling through the emptiness of space. This destination unknown, its purpose a mystery. One man wakes up, ripped from a dream of a new home, a new planet, and the woman he was meant to love in his arms. He finds himself wet, naked, and freezing to death. The dark halls are full of monsters, but trusting the other survivors he meets might be the greater danger. All he has are questions. So apparently this is an edge-of-the-seat thriller set in the darkest reaches of space. I'll be the judge of that.
Look, Demolished Man, have it. As a matter of principle, I'm picking up any Greg Brentfords that I find, even the collaborations. I've got those. I don't have Stand on Zanzibar. It's a pretty big ass book, isn't it? There's another Benford collab, this time with C. Clarke.
I also found John Brunner, Stand on Zanzibar, which is a book, there's 3 or 4 I think in a little set of his, what are the others called? A Sheep Looks Up or something like that. And there's a couple more, and Stand on Zanzibar is one of those, and they're sort of railing against ecological and economic catastrophe, and this one is about overpopulation, I believe. It's a pretty chunky book. I hadn't realised it was as thick as this. It must be 400 or 500 pages. Yeah, blimey, 650 pages. There are 7 billion plus humans crowding the surface of 21st century Earth. Well, okay so far. It's an age of intelligent computers, mass market psychedelic drugs, politics conducted by assassination, and scientists who burn incense to appease volcanoes. All the hysteria of a dangerously overcrowded world, portrayed in a dazzlingly inventive style. So it's a science fiction masterworks, as you probably saw, one of the Black Spine early editions from the turn of the century, I think. Yeah, 1999. I prefer. I don't object to these at all. I much prefer them to the Yellow Spine, the more recent ones, which are kind of ugly in comparison. I quite like these. I would still much prefer a contemporary or contemporaneous vintage copy, but still, it'll do. And I found a couple of Gregory Benford, both collaborations. So this one's Beyond the Fall of Night. I say collaborations. Really, it only includes Arthur C. Clarke's name on the title on the front page, because Gregory Benford's based this on a short story. I think it was a short story that Arthur C. Clarke wrote, and it provided the kind of skeleton for Benford's novel, with Clarke's permission. And there's a little foreword in this by Arthur C. Clarke, but it's really a Gregory Benford novel, so that's cool. And then there's another one, which is Gregory Benford and Gordon Eklund, If the Stars Are Gods. Not one I've heard of before. It's in pretty good condition. Oh, it's pretty clean. But anyway, it involves an alien starship, and it's been compared to Childhood's End on the back. It was deceptively huge and massive, seeming as if it belonged anywhere in the universe but here, orbiting Earth's moon, and inside it, it stank. Reynolds tried to ignore the smell, peering at the alien as he answered the first question. And then I was very happy to find on the shelf Demolished Man by Alfred Bester, and this is a first edition UK paperback. And it's in really nice, well, I say really nice condition. It's in surprisingly good condition for a book of its age. Normally they're pretty ropey. It's got 1 or 2 creases on the front, but otherwise the front of the cover is in nice condition. The spine is creased, but not too much lean. It's pretty good. And the back is a bit grubby in places. It hasn't responded well to a bit of a polish. I say it's first edition. So it's a Panther from 1959. The book was originally published in 1953 by Sidgwick and Jackson in the UK. So I don't know if there was just no paperback for 6 years or if there's something that happened before Panther got their mitts on it, but it strongly implies that it's the first paperback edition in a very old 1959 vintage Panther science fiction book. Not many of those to the pound. So that's quite cool.
Charles Sheffield.
Yeah, it's
Got one of those.
So this one is a collab with Joe Pornell, who gets around. Higher Education, which is about somebody who's a dropout from school, but decides to get a new career in asteroid mining. And then there's one here, which is Charles Sheffield's Brother to Dragons. Only One Man Can Save the World. Apparently, don't know what that's
So
about.
let's see. It's a couple of the Laundry Files books. I think I'm going to have that. Look at that. And that.
Then I found Joan Slonczewski, I think. I am probably mispronouncing that. And it's in the Women's Press science fiction, of which I have a couple of others. So now I'm in a quandary. Do I pull them out of their alphabetical order and stash them somewhere as a growing set? I wouldn't mind collecting more of these. So this is called A Door into Ocean. From the ocean world of Shora, Merwen the Impatient and Usher the Inconsiderate travel to Valadon, the world of stone. The Valans view with suspicion the ancient female race of Shora with their webbed fingers, their withdrawal into white trance, and their marvellous arts of healing. Where the sharers of Shora, that's difficult to say, hope for understanding, they are met with aggression. So this sounds like a men are from Mars, women are from Venus type thing. Joan Slonczewski pushes the moral and political philosophy of non-violence to its very limits in a powerful and gripping narrative. To read it is to see your own future in the balance. Gregory Benford, the aforementioned Gregory Benford. If you want a completely built world and science fiction done with the science right, this is it. So that's interesting. It's a nice cover.
That's interesting. It's a book club edition, but I might actually get that.
Staying with the ladies, I don't often pick up book club editions, and there were a few in the shop on the day that I went there, and I didn't really fancy them. But this one caught my eye. It's The Crystal Ship, which is like a compendium, I suppose, an omnibus of 3 what must be quite short novellas, because this isn't a thick book in the first place. But there's a story in here by Joan D. Vinge, The Crystal Ship, and there is one by Martha Randall, Megan's World, and there is one by Vonda McIntyre, Screwtop. And it has an introduction by Robert Silverberg, just a brief one, a couple of pages. So this is an all-female collection. I don't know if they're long short stories or short novellas. They're certainly described as novellas, but there's only 170 pages in there, so sort of 50 or 60 pages each, something like that. I never know. I wonder if there's an official definition of a novella versus a short story versus a novelette versus a novel. Like, where are the boundaries? Inquiring minds need to know. Anyway, that was quite good. And then I also found a John Sladek TikTok, which is in the sort of fairly garish Gollancz paperback reissue with the end flap thingies pretending to be a hardback. So I don't know, John Sladek is allegedly kind of meant to be sort of comedic science fiction, which might not float my boat. I don't know much about this book. Something has gone very seriously wrong with TikTok's Asimov circuits. So it's some kind of robot. They should keep him on the straight and narrow, following Asimov's first law of robotics, while maintaining the outward appearance of a mild and willing robot, albeit one with artistic tendencies and sympathy for the robot rights movement. TikTok's real agenda is murderously different. He seems intent on injuring, preferably fatally, as many people as possible. So this guy was doing Murderbot many years before Martha Martha Wells, is it? So this was originally published in 1983. So a good 40 years 35, 40 years before Martha was on the case with the Murderbot Diaries. John Sladek was doing it with TikTok. And I also found an Andre Norton Lord of Thunder. I thought I was confused there for a moment because I thought it was Beastmaster, but I think that came in the second half, and you have to watch that in a different video. So this one published in 1962 in the US, published in Peacock Books 1968. No one had ever gone into the blue section of the planet Arzor and returned. It was the hunting ground of the terrible Norby cannibals. Now there were rumours of an ominous gathering of the native tribes, which might mean the destruction of the planet, and Hostine Storm's brother was trapped in the blue. So actually this is a sequel to Beastmaster. That's interesting. This is Andre Norton's second hair-raising science fiction adventure about the young hero, the Beastmaster. So Peacock's an imprint of Penguin. Yeah, so this is a UK first edition in paperback, I think. So watch this space. I'll show you the second one. And then I found, I passed it by the first time when I was videoing the shelves. I kind of didn't register that it was there or that I might want it.
Military books.
Yeah. But afterwards, as I was kind of just doing a double check, I saw it. And I picked it up because the name rang a bell. Someone in the dim and distant past recommended to me Mary Gentle's Ash book, which I only have a very sketchy knowledge of what it's about, but I think it's if not a time travel, there's a person out of place in a time where she doesn't belong that ends up being on a slightly different timeline, that ends up being a sort of female mercenary general defending Europe against Carthage. Only it's not the Carthage of old, it's a different Carthage. So same person, different book. So this is Mary Gentle's Ancient Light, which it turned out when I got home and did a bit of research is the second of a twofer. And so this is in very good condition. So this one dates from 1987, so it's getting on for 40 years old. It's in, there's a tiny bit of yellowing on the pages, but not a lot. It's in pretty good condition. The cover's in top-notch condition, and in general I would say this is very good, if not even near fine book. But it's not very satisfactory having the second of a set of two books. So what's a man to do? When I got home, I had just a little look on the internet, see what I could find. And I thought, oh, it must be possible to get the first one. I wonder how much you'd have to pay for it. And then I paid like £4.50 or something for this on one of the book warehouses, probably World of Books. So this is the first part, Golden Witch Breed. So they sound a little bit like fantasy, but actually, you know, with witches, and the other one's Ancient Light and so on, but it's definitely not. So the distant world of Orth on which this brilliantly imaginative new novel is set is inhabited by a race almost identical to humans, except that until they reach adolescence, they are in a state that they call Asheran, without gender. Blah, 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 past civilizations. Their world is littered with spectacular remnants of that vanished past, and there are some people called the Golden Witch Breed, the last direct link to the ancient race, feared and shunned, etc., etc. And then to Orth, and this is so far so fantasy, and then this is where it flips into science fiction. To Orth comes Linda Liesel Christie, envoy from Earth. She is the first human visitor to be allowed outside the small diplomatic enclave in the southland city of Tathkar, and the future of human-Orthian relations depend on her, etc., etc. Golden Witch Breed is a novel of epic scope, full of colour and adventure, peopled by memorable characters, both human and Orthian, and set on a world imagined in rich detail and brought vividly to life. So great. A couple of things to note. So, unbeknownst to me, so it wasn't listed as signed. It's just random World of Books kind of lottery win. It is signed by Mary Gentle. No other inscription, just the signature. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if I was the king of books, I wouldn't let this happen. This would be punishable by, I don't know, public stoning or something. What? Why are they different sizes? Like, one is the sequel to the other. The sort of covers and the text, you know, the fonts match and the images are, you know, of a piece. But the second one's bigger than the first one, and it's just not okay. They're not a matching set. I'm not happy. I expect I'll get over it.
Got those Robin Hobbs. Ooh, look, Brazil. I'll have that.
And then also on the shelves, this was all in the Oxfam bookshop in Woodley, my regular haunt. So what caught my attention on the shelf was the spine, which is very colourful. So it's Brazil by Ian MacDonald. It's got a very shiny cover with a sort of peekaboo sort of illustration on the end paper and holes in the cover so you can see it through there, but otherwise it's shiny. And the back is pretty cool as well. So that's Ian MacDonald's, an author I quite like. One or two of his I've read were a little bit hit and miss. I didn't like the one set in India, River of Gods, is it? Well, it was okay. It just was a bit hokey in places. So this one is a novel that moves to a vibrant Latin beat, a novel of conspiracies rooted deep in history and of the possibilities of quantum mechanics. Interweaving the past, the present and the future, faith and technology, this is a fast-moving, thought-provoking, brilliantly written story of all of our tomorrows. It is apparently a landmark science fiction publishing event. So it's got a bunch of different bits. So there's a thing set in Sao Paulo in 2032. And there's another one set in Rio de Janeiro a bit back in 2006. And then there's a piece in Brazil generally set in 1732, which presumably is around the sort of formation of the country and so on. So much more about it than that I do not know. But it's a first edition. It's a trade paperback. It's pretty big. So that's quite cool. It's a nice addition to the shelves. Colourful, if nothing else. It would almost forgive it for being rubbish. Even if it's not very good, it probably earns its place on the shelf just by being pretty. I would prefer to have a hardback, I suppose, but one mustn't grumble. Okay, so that's it for this haul. As always, thank you for watching. Until the next time, bye for now.